The Galactic Academy's Xenobiology lecture hall fell silent as Instructor Vexter S. Tertiary Manipulator gestured toward the holographic display. 300 students from across the known galaxy sat in tiered rows, their various appendages poised over data tablets, compound eyes and sensory organs fixed on the shimmering projection of a planetary system. Earth, the Calixian professor announced, his vocal sacs inflating with emphasis, is classified as a Class 12 death world, the third highest rating in our database. A ripple of nervous chittering passed through the audience. Charlotte sat in the middle section, her plain features betraying nothing as dozens of alien eyes turned toward her. She was one of only 5 humans in the entire academy, a novelty that still hadn't worn off after 2 standard cycles. The survival rate for our species on Earth's surface, Vexter continued, would be approximately 4.7 hours. The atmospheric oxygen content alone would be toxic. The gravitational force would crush our exoskeletons. And the predators exaggerated. A voice interrupted from the upper section. Charlotte didn't need to turn around. She recognized the melodious tone of Calvish, a Serenian noble whose family controlled 3 star systems. Daniel, sitting beside her, tensed immediately. "I beg your pardon." Vexter S. eye stalks swiveled upward. Calvish rose gracefully, his luminescent skin pulsing with confidence. The Serenians were apex predators on their homeworld, a planet where the most dangerous creature was roughly equivalent to Earth's housecat. They had dominated galactic politics for 2 centuries through cunning and commerce, never through physical prowess. Humans have been granted special status in the Academy, based on fear-mongering and propaganda, Calvish said smoothly. They're granted combat exemptions, protective protocols, special dietary accommodations, all because their planet is supposedly so dangerous. His 3-fingered hand waved dismissively. "I propose it's all theater." Charlotte felt Daniel's hand on her arm, a warning pressure. "Don't engage." She'd heard it all before. "The classifications are determined by the Galactic Survey Corps," Vexter said stiffly, "not by humans. Classifications can be influenced." Calvish descended the steps with predatory grace, his entourage following. "I've studied human physiology. Yes, their bone density is impressive by our standards. Yes, their cardiovascular system is redundant and overbuilt, but superior." He laughed, a sound like crystal chimes. "I think not." He was in front of Charlotte's desk now. She looked up at him with dark, calm eyes. "Perhaps a demonstration." Calvish's hand moved to his side, where a ceremonial blade hung. On Serenia, such blades were ornamental, used in formal debate to punctuate arguments, a symbolic gesture. He drew it smoothly, the crystalline edge catching the light. The lecture hall erupted. Students scrambled backward. Instructor Vexter S. alarm pheromones filled the air with an acrid scent. Calvish Academy regulations strictly forbid. "I merely wish to test the human's reflexes," Calvish said, leveling the blade toward Charlotte's face, stopping a few inches away. "If they're truly from a death world, surely this primitive tool should pose no threat." Daniel was already moving, but Charlotte's hand shot out, stopping him. Her expression hadn't changed. She was still seated, still relaxed, one hand resting on her desk. "You want a demonstration?" Charlotte asked quietly. Her voice carried through the silent hall. Calvish's skin pulsed with satisfaction. "I do." Charlotte smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. It was the smile of a species that had climbed to the top of a food chain, so competitive that 99% of all species that had ever existed on her planet had gone extinct. It was the smile of a predator that hunted in packs, that ran prey to exhaustion across endless savannas, that looked at the stars and decided they belonged to her kind. "Okay," she said. What happened next took 1.3 seconds. Charlotte's hand snapped out, not at the blade, but at Calvish's wrist. Her fingers, built to grip and crush, wrapped around the joint with vice-like pressure. Calvish gasped. His species had no real concept of pain tolerance. They'd never needed it. She stood, rising to her full height. On Earth, Charlotte was considered small, at 5 feet 4. Here, with most species adapted to lower gravity, she was among the tallest beings in the room. She twisted Calvish's wrist with clinical precision. The blade clattered to the floor. Her other hand went to his shoulder. She didn't strike him, that would have been assault. Instead, she simply guided him downward with inexorable force. Her muscles designed for 1G, constantly working against her, turning her into something impossibly strong by galactic standards. Calvish found himself on his knees, Charlotte's hand still locked on his wrist, bending it just shy of breaking. His luminescence flickered with shock and the first fear he'd ever truly experienced. Charlotte leaned down, her smile never wavering. When she spoke, her voice was conversational, almost gentle. On Earth, we have a saying, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. She paused. But you know what? Humans don't need guns. We are persistence hunters. We ran down our prey until their hearts exploded from exhaustion. We survived ice ages, plagues, predators with claws like swords and jaws that could crush skulls. We looked at animals that could kill us in seconds and we domesticated them, made them love us. Her grip tightened fractionally. Calvish whimpered. Every human in this academy is carrying a skeleton that's reinforced for triple your gravity. Hearts that can pump for days without rest. A nervous system that can ignore injuries that would send you into shock and pain. Charlotte's eyes glittered. We have entire sports based around enduring pain for fun. She released him suddenly. Stepping back, Calvish collapsed, cradling his wrist, his entourage frozen in terror. Charlotte picked up the crystalline blade, examined it, then placed it gently on Vexther's desk. She turned back to Calvish. Your knife is beautiful. On Earth, my 6-year-old nephew has a sharper one in his camping kit. She returned to her seat, sat down, and looked at Instructor Vexther expectantly. You were saying something about atmospheric oxygen content. Vexther's vocal sacs fluttered. Why, yes, quite. As I was saying, Earth's 21% oxygen atmosphere would be highly toxic. Daniel leaned over, whispering, you could have just told him to back off. Charlotte's smile softened into something genuine. Where's the lesson in that? Calvish was helped from the hall by his entourage, his luminescence dim with humiliation. The story would spread through the academy within hours. The Death World classification, the warnings, the special protocols, none of it would ever be questioned again. Charlotte pulled up her data tablet, stylus poised. Around her, 300 alien students sat in absolute silence, newly aware that they were sharing a classroom with apex predators wearing friendly faces. Instructor Vexter continued the lecture. But everyone had already learned the most important lesson of the day. Humans smiled before they struck. And mercy was a choice they made, not a limitation they suffered.